Imagine boarding a routine flight on a rainy afternoon. A quiet man in a business suit takes his seat, orders a bourbon and soda, and hands a note to a flight attendant. At first, she thinks it's a phone number. But when she unfolds it, everything changes. The note says, "I have a bomb." Within hours, this mysterious passenger would hijack an airliner, collect $200,000 in ransom money, parachute into the darkness over the Pacific Northwest, and disappear forever. No body. No confirmed identity. No arrest. More than 50 years later, the case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the man who pulled off the perfect vanishing act. November 24, 1971. The day before Thanksgiving. At Portland International Airport, a middle-aged man purchases a one-way ticket for Flight 305, traveling from Portland to Seattle. The ticket costs just $20. He identifies himself as Dan Cooper. Witnesses describe him as calm, polite, and unremarkable. He appears to be in his 40s. Around 6 feet tall. Wearing a dark business suit, white shirt, black tie, and sunglasses. Nothing about him stands out. And that's exactly what makes him dangerous. At approximately 2:50 p.m., he boards the Boeing 727 along with 36 other passengers. The flight is expected to last less than an hour. No one suspects they're about to become part of history. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper hands a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She slips it into her purse without reading it. Cooper leans toward her and quietly says, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Her heart drops. She opens the note. The nightmare begins. Florence takes a seat beside Cooper. He calmly opens his briefcase. Inside are what appear to be 8 red cylinders connected by wires. Whether it was a real bomb remains unknown. But in that moment, nobody was willing to take the risk. Cooper states his demands. He wants $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. If his demands are met, nobody gets hurt. If not, the consequences could be catastrophic. The pilots are informed. Air traffic controllers notify federal authorities. The FBI is brought in. As the plane circles above Seattle, officials scramble to gather the ransom money. Meanwhile, passengers remain unaware of the true situation. Cooper behaves with remarkable calmness. He orders another drink, pays for it, and even offers tips to the crew. This wasn't the behavior of a desperate criminal. It was the behavior of someone who had planned every detail. After nearly 2 hours in the air, authorities finally assemble the ransom. The money consists of 10,000 $20 bills. Every serial number is carefully recorded. The parachutes are delivered as requested. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 lands in Seattle. The aircraft taxis to a remote section of the airport. The exchange begins. One by one, Cooper's demands are fulfilled. The cash is loaded on board. The parachutes arrive. Then Cooper does something unexpected. He releases all 36 passengers. Most of the crew is allowed to leave as well. Only the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and one flight attendant remain. At this point, Cooper has the money. He could surrender. He could negotiate. Instead, he's just getting started. Cooper orders the crew to take off again. This time, he wants to fly toward Mexico. But he has very specific instructions. The aircraft must remain below 10,000 feet. Travel at a relatively slow speed. And keep the landing gear partially deployed. These unusual demands immediately catch investigators' attention. It suggests Cooper knows something about aviation. Something the average passenger wouldn't know. The Boeing 727 has a unique feature. a rear staircase that can be lowered during flight. Today, it's known as the Cooper Vane because of what happened next. As darkness falls and rain pounds the aircraft, Flight 305 heads south. Inside the cabin, Cooper prepares for his escape. The remaining flight attendant is instructed to enter the cockpit and stay there. She obeys. The cockpit door closes. And nobody sees Cooper again. At approximately 8 p.m., warning lights indicate movement near the rear stairs. The aircraft suddenly experiences a noticeable upward movement. The crew realizes something has changed. But they cannot leave the cockpit. They continue flying. Somewhere over the rugged forests of Washington state, D.B. Cooper lowers the staircase. Steps into a violent storm. Straps a bag containing $200,000 to his body. And jumps into the darkness. Think about that for a moment. It's night. Heavy rain. Strong winds. Freezing temperatures. Below him lies miles of dense wilderness. No modern GPS. No night vision equipment. No guarantee of survival. And yet he leaps. When the plane lands in Reno, Nevada, authorities storm the aircraft. Cooper is gone. Only a few clues remain. The mystery has officially begun. The FBI launches one of the most extensive investigations in its history. The case receives the codename Norjack. Short for Northwest Hijacking. Agents search forests, rivers, mountains, and remote terrain. Military aircraft assist. Helicopters sweep the region. Hundreds of suspects are examined. But there is one major problem. Nobody knows who Dan Cooper actually is. Even the name may be fake. The media accidentally reports the suspect as D.B. Cooper. The mistake spreads nationwide. And the nickname becomes legendary. Weeks pass. Then months. No body is found. No parachute. No significant evidence. It's as if Cooper vanished into thin air. This question divides investigators even today. Some experts believe Cooper never made it out alive. The conditions were brutal. He jumped wearing business shoes and a trench coat. He had no visible helmet. No proper skydiving gear. The terrain below was unforgiving. Supporters of this theory argue that his remains simply haven't been discovered. But others disagree. They point out several suspicious details. Cooper specifically requested multiple parachutes. This may have been a clever trick. Authorities would be reluctant to sabotage any parachute if they believed innocent hostages might use one. He also appeared familiar with aircraft operations. His flight instructions were highly specific. Some believe he had military or skydiving experience. Perhaps he knew exactly what he was doing. And perhaps he survived. If that's true, where did he go? For nearly a decade, the investigation produces nothing. Then, in 1980, something extraordinary happens. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram is vacationing with his family near the Columbia River. While digging in the sand, he uncovers bundles of decaying cash. Authorities examine the bills. The serial numbers match Cooper's ransom money. Almost $6,000 is recovered. It is the first confirmed physical evidence connected to the hijacker since the jump. But the discovery creates more questions than answers. How did the money get there? Did it wash downstream? Was it buried intentionally? If Cooper died, where is the rest of the cash? More than 97% of the ransom remains missing. And so does Cooper. Over the decades, countless suspects emerge. Former soldiers. Skydivers. Criminals. Aviation enthusiasts. Some appear promising. Others are clearly unlikely. One of the most famous suspects is Richard Floyd McCoy. He committed a remarkably similar hijacking just months later. But evidence eventually ruled him out. Another popular suspect is Kenneth Christensen, a former airline employee. Many amateur investigators believe he fits the profile. Yet definitive proof never emerges. The list continues. Dozens of names. Hundreds of theories. Thousands of pages of investigation. But no smoking gun. No confession supported by evidence. No verified identity. Every lead eventually reaches a dead end. Most unsolved crimes fade with time. This one didn't. Because D.B. Cooper represents something rare. A mystery with no ending. There are no surveillance cameras capturing his escape. No social media trail. No DNA breakthrough that solved everything overnight. Just questions. Who was he? Why did he do it? Did he survive? Where did he land? And where did the money go? The case sits at the crossroads of crime, adventure, and folklore. To some, Cooper was a criminal. To others, he became a modern outlaw legend. A man who challenged the system and vanished. The truth may be far less romantic. But without answers, imagination fills the gaps. In 2016, after decades of investigation, the FBI officially suspended active efforts to solve the case. The mystery remains open. Somewhere in an old attic, forgotten box, or hidden family story, the answer may still exist. Or perhaps it disappeared forever on a stormy November night in 1971. A man boarded a plane as Dan Cooper. The world remembers him as D.B. Cooper. He hijacked an aircraft. Collected a fortune. Jumped into darkness. And became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. If he survived, he got away with one of the boldest crimes in history. If he didn't, then the wilderness kept it secret. Either way, more than half a century later, we're still asking the same question. What really happened to D.B. Cooper? And will we ever know?